Literally everyone in my life knows what's up, but I still feel this urge to tell you guys what happened. Only two people think that I'm in the wrong and have been calling me inconsiderate and selfish. Among other things, I want to present my situation to you guys and ask if you think I am in the wrong. The summary of events is that my mother-in-law, Helen, 60, female, made a false report to the police about me abandoning my daughter and running away to the opposite end of the map. When it came out that she was lying, all her children have now banned her from seeing their kids. Helen thinks that since all this mess includes me, I should convince everyone not to cut her off. I have refused for the sole reason that I think she deserves what she is getting. I know that it may be difficult for you guys to make a judgment on this summary, so I will try and give you all the details that are relevant to make a decision. So, Helen and I never really had a good relationship. Hell, she doesn't even have a good relationship with her own three kids. I married the youngest one, Axel, 30, male. Ever since he introduced me to Helen, she's been acting really cold towards me. I tried to be on my best behavior and make a good impression on her. I would answer all her nonsense questions about my life and upbringing and never bat an eye. My family had moved to the South when I was 4, so I spent most of my life in that country before coming to California for my master's. I fell in love and stayed back because I also landed a very good job here. Axel and I dated and then got married, and now we have a 2-year-old daughter. To be very honest, I never misbehaved with Helen or anything. We were a little cold to each other because we didn't agree on a lot of stuff. But we didn't have any other problems. That's why I was very shocked when I discovered that Helen was trying to get my daughter taken away from me. What happened was that my husband was away on a business trip when I suddenly got a call from my sister. My mother has been suffering from a ton of medical problems, and she had a heart attack out of the blue. Since my whole family, including my mother, still lives down south, I had to make emergency arrangements to fly home. The problem is that my daughter doesn't do well with flying, and I couldn't really take her with me because there wouldn't be anyone to look after her while I looked after my mother. I called Axel, but he wouldn't have been able to be back immediately, so I decided to leave my daughter with Helen. I called her and talked about this. She was happy to help. The rest of the details were sent through texts. She was supposed to stay at our place while taking care of my daughter and would go back when Axel would be home. I caught the earliest flight possible the next day and left the house after Helen arrived at our place. I even handed over a set of our house keys so that she would have easy access. I then went on to catch my flight and only got in touch with Helen when I was waiting for my connecting flight. Everything was fine until then. The problem started when I switched my phone back on after visiting my mother at the hospital. It was a rather hectic day, so I had totally forgotten about my phone being off, and when I switched it back on, it was already 5 in the evening. I saw a bunch of missed calls from unknown numbers and a lot from my husband as well. I was immediately alarmed and called him to ask him what was going on. What he told me absolutely blew my mind. Helen had called the cops and claimed that I had abandoned my daughter and she was the one who found her all alone in the house. She told the cops that Axel or anyone else had no idea that I was leaving and was going to abandon my daughter like that. CPS got involved and couldn't reach me. They let Helen take care of my daughter while they tried to catch hold of me and my husband. My phone was off and so was Axel's, as he was in a meeting, but thankfully he had called them back faster than I. He immediately made arrangements to fly back and assured the caseworker that our daughter wasn't being abandoned or anything. I was a sobbing, anxious mess while also booking return flights back home. My sister assured me that she would somehow handle mom's care and understood that I needed to be back home. I won't go into details of what happened next because I don't want to recount it. It was humiliating, absolutely nerve-wracking. Axel and I showed CPS the texts between me and Helen and also provided security footage of me leaving the house after Helen had arrived. Helen had claimed that she had randomly shown up after I wasn't taking her calls and then found my daughter all alone in the house. She set up a whole story and staged this abandonment to get me in trouble. Thankfully, I had enough evidence to prove her wrong. The caseworker was really cooperative, and the investigation ended pretty fast. Helen was totally unapologetic about this entire thing. And if anything, she was trying to make excuses about why she did what she did. Axel and I didn't bother hearing her nonsense. We went straight home to recover from what happened. We were both scared out of our minds that we would lose our daughter. It was a really emotional few days after this happened. And during this time, we stopped talking to Helen completely. She kept texting and calling, but we didn't answer. Axel and I unanimously decided not to allow her near our daughter ever again. We were also discussing going no contact. Yesterday, I received some messages from Helen and her sister that are putting me in a dilemma. Turns out my husband's two siblings found out what happened and made the decision not to let Helen near their child too. It seems like they don't trust Helen anymore and don't want her around. Helen is absolutely losing her mind over it. She has been telling me that I should tell my brother-in-law and sister-in-law not to cut her off for what happened. Helen thinks that I should tell them not to punish her because she didn't do anything to them and doesn't deserve to lose all her grandkids like this. I haven't replied to any of her texts, but that isn't stopping her from harassing me. In fact, she is getting madder at me for not entertaining her. Yes, she is entitled and is used to getting her way through tantrums and manipulation. This is why she doesn't have a good relationship with anyone in the family, not even her own kids. I have tried ignoring her, but I'm still having this nagging doubt that maybe I'm being too cruel. I don't want anyone to make a decision like this just because of what happened to me. It's true that Helen didn't do anything to their kids, but I also think that this is just her karma, so I should let this happen. It doesn't help that her sister called me up this morning and demanded I talk to the siblings because it's wrong that they're cutting Helen off because of me. I hung up on her without saying anything, but it's weighing on my mind. Am I being too selfish and petty for not talking to my siblings and telling them to give Helen a chance? AITA. Edit. A few people cussed me out for making my mother-in-law babysit my daughter. They think that I'm taking advantage of her or something. I don't go around leaving my child at mother-in-law's house for no reason. She isn't my number one choice for babysitting. We have had boundary issues with Helen in the past, so I wasn't all that keen on leaving my daughter with her. I usually leave my daughter with my friends who are readily available for babysitting. However, two of them are having the flu, three others are on separate vacations, so no one was available to take care of my kid. Most of my husband's friends are bachelors, so I wasn't going to leave my daughter with them. The two friends who are married don't have the space to keep a child, so they were out of the question as well. I literally didn't have much of an option. If my husband hadn't gone on a business trip, I would have left my daughter with him. He was informed of the situation, and he would have been home in 2 days to take my daughter out of Helen's care. Also, those of you who said that I was just using Helen for free labor are completely wrong. I offered to pay. I have text proof that I had offered to pay her normal babysitting charges if she wanted compensation. She said she didn't want the money and was happy to keep my daughter with her for as long as necessary. I don't know why she did what she did. I had no explanation from her so far. I don't feel like seeing her face or hearing her voice, let alone confronting her. So I haven't been able to get her reasoning on why she did this. I'm not sure what she told the other siblings. Apparently, she just kept saying that it was all a misunderstanding and she was just doing what she thought would be best for her grandchild. How and why are questions that I don't have answers to. And no, I haven't been neglecting my child or anything. Helen had previously disagreed with how I took care of my baby, but my husband and I were quick to shut it down. She usually took it well and didn't cause much trouble. We rarely met up anyway because we don't see eye to eye on stuff. One commenter said that she probably wanted to take my daughter because she didn't like how I was raising her. That might be the reason, but she wasn't all that keen on seeing my daughter often. So I'm not completely sold on that theory. God knows what her motivations were. To me, what matters is that she tried to get my child taken away and was almost successful in doing that. No matter what the reason, I don't see moving past this or forgiving her as an option. I was just unsure if I should tell the rest of the family not to let this affect their relationship with Helen. Update 1. I may not have replied to all your comments, but I did read them all. Even though the post didn't get a lot of attention, I'm still very grateful for everyone who left comments. I was genuinely thinking that maybe I was in the wrong because I could easily tell the family not to treat Helen like this, but then I realized that I never did ask anyone to stop taking their kids to Helen. Whatever the siblings decided was out of their own accord. I didn't influence them or anything like that. In fact, I didn't even inform them about the CPS incident. The siblings found out through Helen, who went yapping to them with confidence that my daughter would be removed from my care. That woman really had some audacity asking me for help and calling me an idiot when I wasn't one at all. I didn't influence anyone. I was just protecting myself. Axel did talk to his siblings and discuss the matter. He said that the siblings had a discussion with their respective spouses and then made a decision. The only reason Axel had the talk with them was because he wanted to explain our side and why we won't be attending any family events and not let Helen see our daughter from now on. I think that was a rather important conversation that he needed to have with his siblings so that no one would misunderstand us or make assumptions. Axel actually said that the siblings never believed a word that Helen said and couldn't accept that I would abandon my baby. They knew something was fishy, so they decided to wait for things to settle before taking sides. Apparently, they had even raised some important questions when Helen went gossiping to them. She had stammered and made excuses or avoided answering their concerns. That gave them more reason to think that Helen may have done something stupid. I haven't mentioned this in the original post, but Helen is sort of a Karen. Who am I kidding? She is a real Karen by all means. She raises complaints about small things and calls the cops for minor inconveniences. I have a feeling that the cops weren't all that sure of what she said and probably informed CPS that Helen had a history of making false reports. Maybe that's why CPS held off on launching a full-scale investigation to try and see if they could communicate with me. Thank God my husband hurried home when I called him crying from my mother's house. Helen had been super calculative about her plans. She made a call during my layover because she knew I wouldn't turn my phone back on until I was at my mom's place. Unfortunately for her, she wasn't smart enough to know that messages don't magically get deleted from both sides if one person deletes them. You may think that this is a basic common sense, but it's not for Helen. She's technologically challenged and doesn't understand these things that well. She was the I won't let robots take over my life sort of woman. The only reason she got a proper phone was because her friends kept making fun of her and she was feeling left out from not having access to digital platforms. Also, Helen and I didn't see eye to eye about my parenting because she didn't want my daughter vaccinated and didn't want me giving her medicines when she was having problems. Again, she was my last resort, or else I wouldn't have let her keep my child. My husband had promised to come back as early as possible, so I thought we could trust Helen for a maximum of 2 days. Well, I have learned my lesson the hard way. It's my pure luck that CPS acted fast when I showed them the proof and didn't harass us or call us liars. I mean, why would they? I had clear proof that Helen was lying. Anyway, this whole issue has shaken us up. I have been questioning myself over and over again because I have never had anyone close to me experience this. I had no idea that Helen would go this far for whatever reason. There was no question about us going no contact with Helen, though. I just wanted to know if I should ask my brother-in-law and sister-in-law not to cut contact because of what happened to me and my family. That's out of the question now. I am going to have a little family get-together soon so that we can all talk about this. My sister-in-law has been wanting to meet up and talk, so I think I'm going to arrange something at my house. Helen has still been at it with her sorry texts and calls. Well, sometimes she rages in our inbox, but it's mostly her playing victim and the poor old lady card. We haven't replied to her or talked to her, so she doesn't know about the no contact decision yet. Axel is preparing to go talk to her and tell her this in person. He says that he needs to have one final word with his mother just to show her exactly how badly she has messed up. Axel doesn't have any intention of speaking to her again unless she is in a medical emergency or actively dying. So this is sort of final. He knows that she will show up at our house and cause a scene if we tell her about the no contact over text. So he's going to go to her house in person and make it final. You guys left some good wishes for my mother, and I have to thank you for that. She has been doing well by God's grace and is on the path to a quick recovery. Thankfully, it wasn't anything serious, and I was ready to fly back after everything was solved. I hope you pray for her so that she recovers smoothly. As for the Helen situation, I don't know if anything drastic will happen after this, so I guess there won't be any more updates. Thank you so much for helping out, guys. Update 2. I have received some messages asking if everything went well, so I'm here to make an update. I think I would have still come back even if people hadn't asked for an update because I guess I need to vent. I'll be very frank and tell you guys that I'm a very friendly person. I never had problems with anyone, be it at school, college, or work. I'm also very close to my family, and we are a strong bunch, so I never really had to deal with people who were just plain hateful towards me. Maybe that's why I had so much trouble understanding why Helen did this to me. Well, there wasn't any unique reason for what she did. My husband went over to her house yesterday and explained to her that we wanted nothing to do with her for now. She won't have any access to us or our daughter for the distant future. If any day our daughter decides to contact her on her own, we will allow it, but for now, she won't be in our lives. As you can imagine, Helen didn't take it well. I wasn't present at the meeting because my husband went there alone to talk to her. I didn't want to be around her, so I didn't go. And from what he told me, Helen threw a fit, cried, screamed, and cursed. You know, all the shebang. She tried to say that we were being unreasonable, punishing her for one mistake. My husband tried his best to have a civil conversation because he doesn't like to indulge in her theatrics. But Helen was being crazy dramatic. She started to spew pure venom about me and finally revealed why she made this plan. Well, simply put, she hates me. She always hated me. Never wanted Axel to marry me, hated that everyone liked me, hated that I wasn't from California, hated that I didn't listen to her crazy advice, hated that I only considered her a last resort babysitter. She was also convinced that somehow I would end up staying in the South to look after my mother and then take Axel and my daughter with me too. Side note, that wasn't going to happen. I can't just uproot my family and move somewhere else just like that. This was never an option and was never talked about. But somehow Helen got it in her head that I would be taking her son and granddaughter away from her. She basically blamed me for Axel becoming distant from me, and even said that the way the siblings cut her off proved that I was manipulating everyone. So the mystery is solved. I now know why Helen called CPS and the cops. I don't even know what to say about this. I guess she's crazier than I thought. Lord knows how everyone puts up with her. I think everyone else is also at the end of their wits, and that's why they were quick to cut her off. While Helen isn't openly hostile to her brother-in-law's wife, she does nitpick everything she does and often gives her unsolicited advice. She's also very controlling and manipulative towards her own children, so no one is her fan. They just stuck with her because she's their mother. But now people are reevaluating their priorities in life and setting up new boundaries, no matter how hard they are. Axel, too, made it clear to Helen that no matter how hard she tried to pin the blame on me, it is she who is at fault. Also, he told her that no contact was also his decision and this was non-negotiable. Axel came back home after that and didn't stick around for her pity party. Helen still isn't convinced because she keeps sending us insane texts. We are ignoring her for now. We can't block her for emergency purposes because we do need to know when she needs real help. We've also informed the siblings about what happened, and no one is happy with Helen right now. We will be meeting up soon for some family time since dinners at Helen's place are out of the question now. It sucks to know that Helen hates me so much. It's not a good feeling to have someone hate you. I'm trying to come to terms with it, and also sort of sad that my daughter won't have a lot of grandparent time on either side. But it's better not to have a grandma like Helen, so this is for the best. I somehow doubt that Helen will ease up on her harassment anytime soon, but I hope that it happens eventually. Update 3. Some of you warned me that Helen may try to escalate and do something shady in classic Karen fashion. Well, you were right, so I owe you this update. This is going to be the last update though, because I would very much like to move past this and not talk about it anymore. I had enough drama and action in my life as is. I know this is entertaining to some of you, but I am getting tired of two crazy people in my DMs who are calling me the problem. Anyway, let me tell you what happened with Helen. As I mentioned in the last update, Axel, my husband, went and told Helen in no uncertain terms that we would be going no contact with her for the foreseeable future. Did Helen like that? No, she didn't. She kept harassing us over the phone for days until the two of us were sort of forced to block her. We had been planning to let her spam us because blocking her would mean her not having access to us for medical emergencies and such. However, the sheer amount of crazy text she was sending the two of us was driving us insane. It wasn't doing any favors for my already bad mental health, so Axel and I decided to just block her. I don't say it much, but the CPS incident sort of gave me some trauma that I'm trying to recover from. I was scared out of my mind, and my anxiety has been at its peak. I already have an appointment with my therapist, so don't worry about me. Now, back to what happened. So, Axel and I blocked Helen on that day. The siblings and their family were supposed to come over for our get-together. Everything was planned, and we had been looking forward to their visit. That morning, Helen had been acting particularly crazy. So we got fed up and blocked her. This triggered her more than we could ever imagine. I believe she tried reaching out to us till late evening until she realized that she had been blocked. Again, she's slow about the digital wonders and refuses to learn. Helen realized that she was blocked, so her solution was to show up at our house and create a scene. She didn't know that the siblings were there, and when she saw their cars in the driveway, she demanded to be let in and have a discussion with everyone. She was yelling like a crazy person, and we could hear her all the way to our backyard. Axel was trying to send her away, but she wasn't having it. I was pretty annoyed and decided to go see if I could help get her off our property. Oh boy, I shouldn't have done that. Helen got even angrier when she saw me. She started going off on me and calling me all kinds of names while also telling me that I destroyed her family. Her rambles got so bad that my brother-in-law and sister-in-law also came out to try and make Helen leave. But Helen was in a trance while tearing me apart verbally. She wasn't happy with the verbal lashing, though. She decided it would be a good idea to throw a garden gnome at me. Yup, she threw my garden gnome right at my face. It was too sudden for me to register and too little time for anyone to intercept it. The gnome hit my face, and now I have a bunch of very ugly bruises and cuts on my face and hands. Thank God I put my hands on my face out of reflex, or she could have done some more serious damage. She did injure me fairly well, and I had to go down to the hospital because my face was starting to swell. We took pictures, got my wounds tended, and then went straight to the cops. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, along with their family, were at home looking after my daughter along with theirs, and meanwhile, we took this opportunity to go straight to the cops. There was no question about not filing a report. My husband literally loaded me into the car and told me that we were going to press charges. Helen, of course, had finally understood that she had crossed the line because she backed off and drove off immediately after throwing that garden gnome at me. Everyone was too busy trying to make sure I was okay, so no one stopped her. It's not like we don't know where she lives, right? There was also clear security footage from our front yard that showed Helen hurling the gnome at me. Sometimes I look it up and it makes me chuckle. She acted like a literal cartoon. She's going to suffer real-life consequences for her impulsive decisions, though. The cops had already been pretty fed up with her Karen complaints, and this time they decided to take this case seriously. We got to know from them that the department had already pressed charges against her for making false reports. The last stunt she pulled with CPS simply couldn't be overlooked, so it had to be done. I don't think Helen would be going to jail for any of this, but she will be paying a hefty fine along with my medical bills and damages. What is nice is that I was able to get a restraining order against her. The threatening messages that she sent me prior to the event also came in handy in proving her threat. The woman was all tears when she was taken to court, but of course the judge gave her a pretty bad earful for what she did. She's out on bail and will probably get off with probation, but the fine will make a big dent in her pocket. The lawsuits will take a while, but I'm sure it will come out in our favor. Meanwhile, her actions have absolutely sealed the deal within the family, and now no one wants her around their kids or themselves. Her sister, who was giving me grief for not supporting her, has also done 180 and apologized. So while I did get some ugly cuts and bruises, at least I was able to get rid of Helen for now. I can't say for sure that she won't try some crap again, but at least from next time, we will be more prepared. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.